Hello everyone, good morning. In today's experimental procedure, in today's lab we are studying an experiment related to finding out the gain and directivity of an Yagi antenna. This is the experimental setup which we have used in the lab to conduct the experiment, and to conduct this experiment we require a microwave signal source. Generally microwave signal sources operate with different bands. To list out few like R band, L band, S band, K band, KU band, all these are general bands, and this microwave signal source which we are using is a S band source which operates from 2.3 gigahertz to almost around 3.9 gigahertz. So we are using this signal source. The strength of the signal generated from this signal source is transmitted by using trans-receiver antennas. So these are our trans-receiver antennas. We generally call these type of structures to be dipole antennas, as there are, which has reflectors and directors in it. These are printed on it, and whatever signal that we feed through this antenna is generally transmitted and received through this center structure which we have here. And all of the other devices, that is reflectors and attenuators, whatever we receive, those things are just passive devices. And same type of structure is also present at the receiving end. You can see that it's almost the same, and we are using a tripod structure just to maintain the balance of the antenna and to maintain the line of sight required for the experiment. So the signal strength that is received from the receiving end, so I'm calling this to be the receiving end, the signal strength received will be given to a power divider. This is a relative power detector. So this is a relative power meter which generally detects the signal strength in terms of dBm. Okay, so if we move, there are certain features that we can generally come across when we just change few features of the antenna. We can generally see that if I move the antenna closer, okay, so the signal strength is increasing, whereas if I move the if I move the antenna a little bit far, so the signal strength decreases. So which generally signifies that these are not omnidirectional antenna, so these are very directional, and we need to make sure that the experimental setup is completely done in line of sight to get maximum efficient results. So we have understood the basic experimental setup, and now to do the experiment we need to make sure that generally antennas operate in two regions. One is called to be the Fresnel region, which is the near field region, and there is another field region called as Fraunhofer region. To effectively operate antennas and to effectively cancel out the noises and all, so we prefer that these wireless devices operate in Fraunhofer region. So how do we push that two antennas into Fraunhofer region? We generally check out at what distances we get Fresnel region and what distances we get Fraunhofer region. So by using a simple formula, that is S greater than 2D square by lambda, we decide which region is Fresnel and which region is Fraunhofer, wherein D represents the broader dimension of the antenna. I'll show you what is the broader dimension of antenna, and also lambda here represents the wavelength of the signal that we are feeding through signal source. Okay, so to calculate lambda we are using a formula C by F. C represents the speed of light, and F represents the frequency that we are tuning into. Okay, by using this, so this is a general calculation done for 2.5 gigahertz, wherein we have got 12 centimeters. And by using that 12 centimeters and D, which is fixed for the antenna, we have got S to be greater than 3.52 centimeters. So this represents the minimum distance between the transmitter and the receiver. Okay, and D generally represents the broader dimension of antenna, is the length of the first pole that we generally come across. So if you measure it from this end to this end, it is closer to 4.6. So this is what we have used here for D. So now we have come to know about what is the minimum distance required between two antennas so that they operate in Fraunhofer region. For this antenna, we require minimum distance between transmitting and receiving antenna to be greater than 4 centimeters on an approximate scale. So I'm just generally showing you that this antenna is separated from dipole to dipole by approximately around 30 centimeters. So this is a long scale which I've used. So you can generally make a guess that this is greater than 30 centimeters. And once we do this, we need to make sure about 2 points. The height of the antennas are almost equal, transmitting antenna and receiving antenna, and also the orientation of the antenna, which here generally specifies the direction of the transmitting and receiving antennas, dipoles, are in line of sight. So these are the two minimum conditions which we need to make sure about. And we can turn on the experiments, we can turn on the procedure, experimental modules. So it is already on. So you can see that there is some signal strength received here. This signal strength is a regular signal strength in dBm. I do want a reference value to keep so that I'll understand what is the change that I receive when I go on with different directions. So what I'll do is, I prefer this, so I'll set this to 0. Okay. I can use a knob, adjuster knob to set this signal strength to 0. So once it is 0, I can have a reference of 0 and I can go on with my regular lab experiments. So first set of experiment that we are doing here is to find out the directivity of the antenna. So directivity of the antenna, we are just trying to check out what is the direction in which I can keep the receiving antenna so that I can receive at least 50% of the transmitted signal strength. Okay. So to do this, line of sight is mandatory, and then we set the power meter reading to 0. Okay. And then there is a small rotating scale here which you can have a close look here. This marker points from 10 degrees to almost 360 degrees. So we have a complete scale around this. Okay. So what we are going to do to find out the directivity of the antenna is, first we keep these antennas at 0 degree angle, and then we move the antennas to my right and to my left. Okay. So when I say right, this is to my right. Okay. And we are doing the experiment. We are supposed to do the experiment in two planes. One is a E plane and the other one is a H plane. E and H here refers to the electric field and magnetic fields that we are referring to. And it's a scale that we are using. So generally horizontal planes are considered to be E planes, and vertical, if I place the antenna in vertical direction, then I'll consider it to be H plane. So I'm doing the experiment right now in E plane. So I'll first note down the reading at 0 degree. So at 0 degree, I'm getting a value of 0 in E plane. Okay. And now I'll rotate the antenna to my right by 10 degrees. Okay. So when I rotate the antenna by 10 degrees, you can see that the reading has changed from 0 to almost minus 2.2 dBm. So similarly, I'll do the experiment for 9 values, that is from 0 degree to 90 degree. So this is my 20 degree range value that I'm getting. So this is around minus 6, and the next value that we are going to get, or we are taking here, is for 30 degree, which is around minus 11 dBm. And we'll continue the same type of experiment, that is taking the readings up to 90 degree. So starting from 0 degree to 90 degree on to the right, and also we do the same sort of experiment, moving back the antenna to the 0 degree, and then we move it to the left by 90 degrees. Most of the time these lab experiments are supposed to be conducted with zero interventions, which means that these antennas are supposed to be kept far from the wall, far from the people, so that there will be minimum intervention. Even smallest possible changes are detected in the power meter. So we need to avoid interferences as much as possible. So these are the set of readings which we have obtained by conducting the experiment. This reading shows the values which we have obtained for rotating the antenna towards right, and this readings represents the set of values that we have obtained for rotating the antennas to my left. Okay. So the same set of experiment will be repeated by rotating the antenna into H plane. So this is how we do it. We rotate both the antennas onto H plane. Okay. And we also need to make sure about the line of sight again. So once these are in line of sight, we can continue with the same set of experiment again. So these are the set of values which we have obtained for E plane, and the same set of experiment was repeated for H plane by rotating the antenna or by flipping the antenna to vertical orientation. So you can see that there are minute differences in values, and we are interested in knowing what is the directivity angle which we obtain in E plane and H plane. There are two ways of obtaining it. One way is through the graph, wherein we'll take the entire values which we have obtained, we plot it on the graph, and we obtain the angle between the 3 dB points. There's another shortcut to work it out. So the shortcut would be like, so if you have obtained 0 reference here, we generally mark out where we obtain the 3 dB point. One can observe that here the value is 0, and the value will reach to 3 dB somewhere in between 10 degree and 20 degree. So we'll not keep it random, we'll keep that as 20 degree itself. Okay. So if we keep 20 degree as the angle which we obtain for rotating the antenna for right, we can also see that the same 20 degree is obtained for H plane. So totally I can say that theta E will be the sum of the angles that I obtain here, that is 20 degree plus 20 degree. So this is how this can be worked out as a shortcut. Even if you do it in the graph, you obtain something closer to that. There will not be much of a difference, somewhere close to around, if you're getting it to be 40 here, it might be around 39, 37, something like that. And the same thing which we have worked out for H plane. So if you're doing it for H plane, again I'm going on with the same type of difference, same type of value calculation. This is 1.2 which can't be accepted. So I'll say that the value reaches minus 3 dB point, somewhere in between 10 and 20. So I'll take the point to be 20. And here also between minus 1.5 and minus 3.2, the value I'm considering it to be 20 again. So totally theta H will be taken as 20 plus 20, which will be equal to 40 degree. So obtained a theta E of 40 degree and theta H of 40 degree. Okay, so once we obtain the value of theta E and theta H, which is the same in this case, might not be same in every case. So I'm saying that this is 40 and this is 40. We substitute it into a formula. Directivity is given by 32,400 divided by theta E into theta H. So the values of theta E and theta H are substituted here, 40 and 40. So if I divide 32,400 divided by 1,600, I'll get a value close to around 20.25. This is the directivity, and in case if the directivity is expected to be calculated in terms of dB, we use the formula 10 log to base 10 of 20.25, which will be closer to around 30.08 dB. So this is how we calculate the directivity of a given antenna. So this will be the part B of the experiment, wherein we are intending to calculate the gain of the antenna. So gain of the Yagi antenna, which we have used previously to calculate the directivity. So gain depends on various parameters. It might be influenced by environmental parameters and also the distance between the transmitting and receiving antenna. So we are interested in checking out the gain influence with respect to distance. So what we do here is, first we calculate the transmitted power, that is the power that is present at this end of the antenna structure, and we connect the wire to this antenna, wherein we feed the signal to this antenna, and then we receive this signal through another antenna, and then we connect the received signal to the power meter. So first I will be checking out what is the transmitted power by directly connecting or by directly interconnecting the microwave signal source and the dBm meter, that is the power meter, relative power meter. To check out the values here, one must make sure that we are not conducting the experiment in set 0, we are doing it in default. So we want to know what is the default value that we are transmitting. Once we know this value, we also need to make sure that we never turn around this knob, that is the tuning voltage knob. If you change this, the RF signal strength changes, so you need to repeat the experiment again with the new RF level. So once we know what is the transmitted power, we need to note it down. So I'm saying that it is closer to around 17.5 dBm, So PT will be around 17.5 dBm, and I'll be removing the connection between the power meter and the signal source. I'm connecting the signal source to the transmitting side antenna, and I'll connect the power meter, relative power meter, to the receiver side of the antenna. Okay, so we transmitted something close to around 17 dBm, and you can generally say that there is a little bit of attenuation expected from the environmental influence. I'm getting a signal strength at the receiving end which is closer to around 5.5 dBm, and this is done. I'm using a pole just to make sure that we conduct the experiment at larger distances, not only 30 centimeters. The distance between these two antennas from dipole to dipole is expected something close to be around 35 centimeters. So one can see that. Okay, so we are doing this experiment at 35 centimeters distance between dipole to dipole. I have received the signal strength to be around 5.2 dBm, and changing the distance of the antenna, I'm expecting it to be somewhere around 45 now. Okay, so you can adjust it here. So I'll say that the distance between transmitting and receiving antenna is closer to around 45 centimeters. So once, if I move the transmitting and receiving antenna, I'm getting a signal strength of somewhere around 2.3 dBm, 2.3 to 2.5 dBm. Okay, so there. So I've noted down the values of PT, PR1, which was obtained at 35 centimeters, PR2, the value of the received signal at 45 centimeters. So we use this formula to calculate the gain of the antenna, 4 pi S by lambda into square root of PR by PT. Okay, so where S is actually the distance between the two antennas, that is the transmitting and the receiving antenna. For first case it will be considered as 35, for second case it will be considered as 45. The calculation part is that first we'll be calculating lambda, which will be calculated as C by F. F is the frequency that we are using. So I'm taking the experimental value, which is around 2.34 gigahertz. So this is my F that I've used. By using this value of frequency, I've got a wavelength to be closer to around 12.82 centimeters. So to calculate the gain at 35 centimeter, I'm using the same formula, 4 pi into S, that is 35 divided by 12.82, the value of lambda. The whole thing will be multiplied with square root of PR by PT. PR by PT value will be calculated as antilog of PR in dB minus PT in dB divided by 10. So simplifying the values, we'll get a value close to around 0.061. Taking the square root of it, the value will be around 0.2469. Substituting this value of square root of PR over PT to this formula, that is gain formula, I get a total gain of around 8.47. This is the gain that I have obtained for 35 centimeters. The log of the gain, that is in dB, we get a value close to around 9.27 dB when we are operating at 35 centimeter distance between transmitting antenna and receiving antenna. So the same type of calculation, if we do it for the second antenna setup, that is which is having a distance of around 45 centimeter, we get a gain of around 9.02 dB. It's 9.02 dB. I'm also interested in calculating the average gain of the antenna, which will be calculated as G1 plus C2 divided by 2. I'm using dB values here. So that average gain of this antenna, Aggie antenna, which we have used for the experiment, is around 9.22 dB.